Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTB World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the very important issue of terrorism, something, of course, that unfortunately has been part of what the country has been dealing with for quite some time now, and of course, something that Pakistan has continuously struggled with, have also defeated previously as well, and of course, in the recent spike in terrorist activities in the country, have also once again reiterated their resolve to fight this menace. And this resolve now is taking shape in the form of an operation that it has been launched, and this is something that has been approved as part of the National Action Plan Committee meeting that was chaired by the Prime Minister over the weekend. And the Operation Azm-e-Istikam is the one that is now going to be launched towards eliminating the threat of terrorism in the country, and of course a more coordinated and comprehensive approach to fighting this menace. What exactly is going to be the entire measure that is going to form part of this framework, and what sort of activities will be part of this operation, of course, needs to be seen, and also in terms of what sort of coordinated effort will be there, particularly among the different law enforcement agencies, the different provinces, the different political parties, and the governments of at the provincial and the federal level as well, to see how exactly will this menace be eliminated. Of course, the resolve is there, and it is there in the form of a consensus, as has always been in the past as well, with a zero tolerance policy towards terrorism or terrorist-related activities. But it's of course important to note that this is something that is extremely important to Pakistan in the current state of affairs, with the kind of economic progress that is of utmost importance to Pakistan, and of course its foreign relations with multiple countries, including China, and the launch of phase 2 of the CPEC project as well, to ensure Chinese security personnel's safety and security as well. And then of course with regards to making sure that the development plans of Pakistan are not hampered by any terrorist activities or spoilers in the country or in the region as well. At the same time, of course, Pakistan once again on an international platform has again reiterated the fact that the threat coming in from Afghanistan is also a serious one, and has urged the Afghanistan Taliban regime to take serious note and action with regards to safe havens that are being provided to terrorist groups within the country, and of course from where we have seen numerous attacks taking place in Pakistan. So we're going to be taking a look at what sort of issues and measures are going to be part of how we move forward with this operation, and how we deal with terrorism at this day and age, and what exactly are going to be the nuances and concerns that Pakistan will have to cater for when it of course goes through with this operation and that deals with this threat more comprehensively. So this is going to be our focus in the show today, and for this and more, as always, in the studios I've been joined by senior analysts Farrukh K.Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've also been joined online by Brigadier Nawaz, who's a senior analyst. Thank you very much, Brigadier Sahab, for joining us and being part of the discussion. And I'll start with you because we've of course seen previously also the National Action Plan in place. We've seen consensus on something in Pakistan, which unfortunately on other areas we don't usually see. And then of course with reference to the issue of terrorists or terrorism, we've seen a zero tolerance policy and a lot of clarity on multiple fronts as to deal with this particular issue. But at the same time, of course, we've seen that while we have fought and won against terrorism previously, we have now seen a spike in terrorist activities in the country, and we've seen record deaths in the country this year alone. And so we want to be able to understand then what sort of a threat emerges now. Is it any different from that in the past, and what sort of actions are needed as part of the National Action Plan to make sure that we counter this new threat and get over with the kind of lackings that were there perhaps previously in terms of the National Action Plan, and making sure that it is implemented in true letter and spirit.
Sana, the point is, let me tell you that almost Pakistan has controlled this terrorism by around 2020. And then we thought when the Americans are leaving and the Taliban are coming, that was the time we thought that Afghan Taliban, which they committed in the Doha conference, that they will never allow their land to be used by any terrorist organization against neighboring country. But they could not fulfill their requirement. Another factor was that while Americans going, they left in abundance weapons, ammunition, night vision devices. And the fact was that Taliban should have controlled and completely these weapons which they had left unattended, but they did not, and then it fell in the hands of all terrorist organizations, BLA, BLF, BNA, then it is Daesh, Al-Qaeda, and TTP, which is threatening Pakistan. Despite the fact Pakistan has been telling Afghan Taliban that we want just one thing from you, please fulfill your commitment. Don't let your land be used against us. But they miserably failed, and I would say it's a tasted approval from their side. and they have been supporting the Taliban, that they have been coming to Pakistan and did not do anything. So, and then there was a lot of surge in this terrorist activity. Then you see so many senior officers, our young officers, our troops, civilians, and civil armed forces, they have been killed in this operation. And that's why ultimately, again, the Apex Court has decided that we have to go for Azme Istekam. If this is very important. But the main requisite for the successful of this operation is that the whole nation stand behind the armed forces to fight and then control this menace which is happening in Pakistan. There we are lacking still. We have a lot of things, the opposition, ANP is opposed, then PTI is opposed. So that should not happen. Still, there is a fight. We have to create a national consensus. Generally, I feel when a parliament makes a cabinet and then Apex committee decide, then it should be finalized and the whole nation should have supported. But still, if there is any problem, I think we should go for in-camera briefing or National Security Committee. There they should decide it once for all. And all those reservations which they have, the provincial government, particularly we need support from KPK and Balochistan government. So if there are any reservations, they should be removed. They should be taken in confidence. But the scene should be that the whole nation should stop, and I would say they support the complete armed forces. That's so, because you fight as a nation, and particularly internal enemy is more dangerous than the external enemy. So this is a state, but this.
Is that we still need to work towards support from the provinces that you've just mentioned on this front?
Yeah, definitely. And for that is, we should have an in-camera briefing. There's no harm, or that is better. Or the Prime Minister should give a national dialogue call in that they invite all political heads, make them sit. Then I think our agency, they brief them and that's the end of it. But they don't have to be public because there are certain issues, sensitive issues, which you can't disclose to the public. So that has to be taken into account. And then it should be immediately. It needs 3-4 pronged strategy. One, armed forces are already fighting against the terrorism. Then your foreign office has to be working together to inform our regional countries, particularly Russia, China, Iran, Pakistan, of course, and Central Asian, because we have to tell them, and Afghanistan should take in confidence that its fallouts are going to be affecting the whole this region, or it might go to the internationally also. Then we have to go and talk to our OIC, that is Islamic, our country's Islamic countries platform, that should be used. Islam, all ambassadors are there. We have to take them in confidence what India is doing, how we are facing.
I understand the importance that regional partners will be playing, and of course our relations with other countries. But what about within Pakistan as well? The way that the National Action Plan needs to be implemented, and what we have learned from what we've done previously, and how we make sure that the coordination that we require exists within the boundaries of Pakistan as well.
This is the third that we have to ensure that here again the national consensus is built, and we have to tell that they are challenging the rate of the government and we don't accept it. And then provinces will have to, when the federal government decides, then I think everybody has to support it. We don't have any chance. See what is happening in India, but how their media and everybody is working. They never talk about raw. They don't talk about the military forces, what all they're doing in Khalistan, Punjab, what they're doing in Kashmir, what are they doing with the Muslims of India, then minorities, Manipur. Nobody talks about that. And then our courts have to be also taken into confidence. Please support. Don't start giving stay orders and then start giving them grant. The way it happened with when our children died in APS school, Peshawar. There are so many terrorists were given bails. So this has to be national consensus where the government, judiciary, and nation and armed forces, everybody has to be on one platform with focused direction that we have to eliminate terrorism in Pakistan. Only then we can have the political stability, we can have economic development, and then people of Pakistan life and property is safe. So that has to be done in consonance with every segment of the society and the government official in Pakistan.
Faisal, I also want your perspective on that, especially when we talk about the fight against terrorism, we talk about the zero tolerance policy, and we talk about consensus, of course, in terms of dealing with this menace. But I also want to understand in terms of actual action being taken or in implementing the National Action Plan, do you think that there are areas that we lack consensus in, or do you think that there is something that needs to be built or worked towards even more, especially in terms of what Brigadier Haris was also referring to, and what sort of opinion or difference on the matter can possibly exist when we're dealing with such an issue?
Yes, and it's a very good question, and obviously, of course, if we talk about KPK government, as Brigadier Haris has rightly pointed out, that KPK's government, of course, they are taking it as a political decision, but to me, it is not a political decision. It is a decision that should have been taken long ago, because as soon as the attacks were taking place against Pakistan, and especially attacks which were taking place against the Chinese in Pakistan, the action should have been taken at that time. And of course, we know that our intelligence services and security services, they have been working on it day and night, but the inclusive kind of action was needed, which is going to be pivotal.
What action exactly are you talking about?
Action is that, Sana, as we have been talking about it in our show since a long time, that of course a full-fledged counter-terrorism action is required against the 3 provinces of
not against the provinces, inside
provinces, where there are the sanctuaries of ISIS Khorasan, then TTP, because mainly ISIS Khorasan is catering everyone out there. And of course, as Brigadier Haris rightly pointed out earlier, TTP, BLA, BLF, ETIM, IMU, all of these organizations that are not only affecting Pakistan but the other neighboring countries as well, like China, ETIM, then IMU is all over Central Asian republics. So Pakistan needs to take an action, and as rightly pointed out by Brigadier Haris once more, that of course the neighboring countries, we have to take them in confidence, and then the OIC as well, what kind of activities we are doing there and why they are they are a must to do it right now, because when we talk about ISIS Khorasan, it's not only Pakistan or Afghanistan which is going to be targeted by ISIS Khorasan. I mean, ISIS ideology, of course, we have highlighted in past as well that they categorize the whole world in 3 categories. Number one, they call them Darul Khalafa. Darul Khalafa are the Iraq and Syria. And when we talk about Darul Hijra, for them Darul Hijra is Yemen, then Afghanistan, and then Darfur as well, of course Sudan. And when we talk about Darul Kufr, in Darul Kufr they mention Pakistan and rest of the Western world and Eastern world, and wherever their countries are, they always consider them as Darul Kufr. So to them, we are considered as Darul Kufr. What does it mean? It means that it's a breeding ground. It's a breeding ground which is Darul Hijr, where they are feeling safe, and they are of course reorganizing themselves for the whole world, not only for Pakistan. So it's a war which is being fought by Pakistan on behalf of the world, and this is what we need to highlight it more. And when it comes to KPK as a province, I think they taking it up as a political decision by the current federal government. This is not the case. I mean, why KPK government sitting in Peshawar is failing to understand that right now the enemy is not only targeting Pakistan or Pakistan's economy, but they are targeting Pakistan's friendly relations with the friendly countries like China. I mean, just because of the activities which are originating from within Afghanistan, they are affecting Pakistan's relations with other countries, because questions are being raised at this hour, and all of these activities, they are actually originating from within Afghanistan. Once again, Brigadier Haris rightly pointed out that Doha Accord, when it took place, I mean, Taliban at that time, they pledged They pledged at that time that they will never allow their land to be used against any of the neighboring countries, including Pakistan. But here we are standing after 3 years and nothing has taken place in terms of they doing anything, and we keep on taking intelligence. I mean, my sources, they keep on telling me that there are, groups within Taliban, Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, both of them, they are sort of, hand and glove to each other, and they are helping and facilitating each other. What kind of, steps are being taken by Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan?
Let me
TTA,
let's
they
actually
need to
pose
be
another
cautious
question
about
and try
that.
to understand what you're saying also in perspective of how we want to understand the problem as well. And of course, there is what is emanating from beyond the borders, and of course, the safe havens in Afghanistan. And while that is an issue, and that we of course keep on reiterating this on multiple platforms as well, and there are measures that are in place for that. And we'll talk more about what we need to do in that approach. But I want your understanding in terms of where you see the core problem. Is that truly the one emanating from Afghanistan? Where would you identify our core issue with terrorism?
Well, when we talk about, of course, all of these sanctuaries of ISIS Khorasan, of TTP, they are a sort of, for them, it's like an industry. Terrorism is kind of industry for them, because our enemy intelligence services like RAW, like many others, they find it as an opportunity to fund against Pakistan, and of course they see it as an opportunity, and somewhere down the line, of course we know that defensive offense of Ajit Doval, Shastra University, it is still going on. And when we talk about NDS, of course we know NDS active members who were once trained in New Delhi in India, and they are still active on ground, as well as there are few of them, they are sitting in New Delhi, and they know how to facilitate all of these terrorist activities, and they are not doing it.
Sana, are you not going to congratulate Raja Faisal on this diversion from your question? The question was, where lies the actual problem in terrorism? He once again has gone beyond the border.
Well, if we talk about the actual problem, I mean, this is the sort of initiating factor. This is how it got initiated. I mean, these people who are across the border, they are being used, and they are considered as an terrorist industry, and they are getting fundings, and them fundings are being utilized by them not only against Pakistan, but of course in Pakistan against China as well.
All right.
So that is why I'm saying that all of the stakeholders, including KPK government, they need to understand this, that they have to put political sort of narratives on a side and think about Pakistan for once.
Right. And Farrukh, of course, I want your take on all of the questions, especially the last one as well, particularly where the core issue lies as well. But I'll add another one on top of that. When we talk about the National Action Plan and, of course, measures being taken against the issue of terrorism, this operation, as Mr. Kam, is not the first operation that Pakistan is going to be conducting. And, of course, we've had the National Action Plan previously as well. We've tried to create structures or frameworks in terms of dealing with this threat. Why is it that we need new ones? Is it because we are reevaluating and learning from the previous ones, or is it because there is a different way that we're looking at things, or a different threat that emerges right now, or that there are some areas where we do need to reevaluate and see what has not been implemented or what might not have been successful? And does that truly even help creating new structures or frameworks while we have existing ones?
Thank you, Sana, for this very prescient question, because an answer to that potentially will answer all the questions that were raised so far in this show. But before that, I just wanted to correct the record, because I think in admirable flow to say whatever they wanted to say, particularly Raja Faisal, when he was talking about operation in 3 provinces. At that time, there was this impression that was given that perhaps there are any terror sanctuaries in Pakistan. As of today, there is 0 sanctuary in Pakistan. Operation Zarb-e-Azab actually took care of all ungoverned spaces. After that, of course, we have had multi-layered operations that continued. One came after the other, and we have actually ensured that the terrorists are not concentrated in any part of the country. Of course, most of them use guerrilla tactics, and that's why some actually come from the other side of the border. Some actually might be hiding in dense population centers. That is why they evade capture. But doesn't mean that that will continue. We need to act on that, and we are going to, inshallah, do it. Now, the question that you asked, and I think when you talk about what is wrong or what exactly went wrong regarding terrorism in this country, I think I just want to remind you that this year a national action plan will turn 10 years old, and after 10 years, while the army has been very heroically battling terrorism in this country, there were other components part of that action plan that have not been implemented. Let me give you 2 or 3 very important lacuna. One is regarding the legal aspects. Remember that at that time the military courts were introduced, and at that time also death penalty was also revived. Why? Because there was this feeling that our courts let terrorists walk away without any consequences. And there was an example of one terrorist who actually was wanted in 38 counts of murder. And one by one, because the entire process continued for over a decade in Punjab, one by one, all the complainants actually withdrew, and after that he walked free. After that, of course, he was killed in another counter-terrorism activity. That also happened. But with all these things in mind, the biggest question is what Brigadier Sahab was mentioning. We are not going to go for a new national action plan. Of course, there is a national action plan which needs to be implemented. The civilian side that I mentioned, legal is only one aspect. The other one is narrative. Remember that there has to be an overturned window regarding narratives about terrorism. And what we have been doing, because Pakistan was created in the name of Islam, and of course at that time, particularly Afghan jihad time, we used the term, weaponized the terms like jihad and others. Because of that, those issues or those narratives became the part of our national psyche. And when General Musharraf actually decided to go after terrorists and break away from the previous policies, at that time what happened? A big chunk of your population was lost. Why? Because General Musharraf, of course, had these conditions to fulfill, and one part of those conditions was that he had to act as if it is his war, and he couldn't actually talk to the common people why it is exactly his war, right, or our war. So what happened was that was lost, and one consequence has been that after we had Zarb-e-Azab, after that we had the other operation that was started by former army chief. After that also what happened in the end, when PTI came to power, it ended up cutting deals with the terrorists, and they actually once again came back. Because of that, you haven't been able to counter the narrative part of this either. So it is important now that you take care of the legal aspect, that you take care of narrative aspect, and then of course the diplomatic or political diplomatic aspect is important. That's why Operation Azm-e-Istehkam has been launched, and one happy coincidence is that it's called Operation Azm-e-Istehkam. If you actually go for the initials Azm-e-Istehkam, it becomes AI. So I'm hoping that in coming days we are going to see more use of technology in this as well. Again, regarding leveraging media space, the biggest problem is 60, 70 channels in this country. And when Zarb-e-Azab was going on, when the other operations were going on, your media could not handle that. It did not know what to tell the common man on the street. So what became the refrain on television? Operation Zarb-e-Azab kamyabi se jari hai. And that's all, right? Operation Zarb-e-Azab continues successfully. But nobody was trying to win over the common man's opinion. Now, with technology, with the new consensus, and then of course they are just going after not only Pakistanis but foreign investors as well. We have to double down and ensure that we get rid of this menace for once and all. Regarding PTI, regarding others, the biggest problem is PTI doesn't understand its mandate. It doesn't understand how to handle situation or leverage situation. Instead of leveraging the budget, what they are doing is they are trying to leverage the military aspect of this operation, while you are also being blamed for bringing back terrorism to the country. So should you be leveraging this one? Is it the mountain you want to die on? Come on, right? So I think it is sad that they are doing it, but eventually I hope that they are also going to join in, and all political parties are going to actually build consensus which is needed for this country, and we are going to root out terrorism for once and all.
Right, absolutely. That is, of course, the hope. Brigadier Haris, I want your perspective also, especially in terms of the legal aspects that Farrukh highlighted. And while we are hearing, of course, about the operation, this is also an extremely important part of the measures that are going to be taken. And so we've seen previously also that there have been certain issues with regards to terrorist suspects and lack of evidence, that we haven't really seen a lot of court proceedings follow through, and or to have any sort of proper legal scrutiny of all the terrorist suspects and making sure that these cases are brought to their end. And then, of course, there is the issue of accountability, particularly of those who have been involved in the past of dealing with terrorist groups and organizations, and the kind of impact that it has created that we're dealing with even now. What measures do you think can be there then to actually take a corrective stance on this issue, and to ensure that whoever is responsible, and whoever that may be, whether it's a political party or any decision maker, that there is accountability on that front, and that anybody associated with or contributing to increasing terrorism in the country is brought to task?
Another point is, when we talk about National Action Plan, there were 20 points, and they were all important to be implemented, and miserably they were not implemented. One, the most important, madrasa reforms, nothing was done. And that is a breeding place for all the terrorists to be brought forward and they're brainwashed, and then they fight against Pakistan and armed forces. Number two is the judicial reform. You see, the most important, which K.Pitafi has been talking, Faisal has been talking, the most important is judiciary. Unless the judiciary come into play and they are told, and it's a national consensus created, when you sit down, the government sits down, judiciary, armed forces, and they work out a strategy that how we're going to find this problem out. Whenever terrorists are arrested, then the long process, it takes 8 to 10 years to finalize the case. In military courts, it takes 3 to 4 months, but keeping all the insaf ke taqaze jo hote hain, we complete all, and then we do all this thing. All legal aspects are covered, given full fair trial, but it has to be daily basis. Unless that is resolved, this will never bring fruitful results. And that is important, that judiciary has to brought in, and of course they decided, go for military courts again. You have to do it. Only then there will be threat. Otherwise, if you will not do it, now there is no police reforms, there is no judicial reform. They talk about madrasa reform, and also FACTA has to be very, very effective. NECTA, that has not been done. Where all intelligence is collated, brought forward, and then capacity building done for the armed forces. In that, we need a latest technology. We have the geofencing. We have the car registration, all illegal car and vehicles. That has to be done forward. Border management has to be very, very controlled from there. They come into the Pakistan territory. These all have to work together in concert. That is the issue. It can't be the only armed forces already doing operation. But when it is a whole segment of society joined in hand, and there's a one voice that the whole nation standing before the armed forces, only then you can do it. So therefore, I say the most important thing, if the Prime Minister of Pakistan call the national dialogue, bring all political heads together, and they'd sit down and find a solution that, okay, we have to go for it. The way it happened in when APS children were killed, then there was again an all-party conference, and there it was decided, nobody objected to it. Likewise, now it can't be done. We say only it is by army is doing, and then we go for intelligence operations. Not possible. Foreign Office, Ministry of Interiors, and Judiciary, they all have to be together to find. There should be deterrence when somebody arrested. If he is punished with keeping all the formalities done, then it has a deterrence effect. The deterrence is not there when there is a 10 to 12 years of case to finalize a case. How will you do it? That's what I say. It has to be done today. Whenever there is a National Security Committee or National Dialogue, there it has to be, or it has to be in-camera briefing. There, all these aspects have been finalized, and the voice should come from Government of Pakistan that there is a national consensus, and we are going to go for it without disclosing any important issues which we need not to be known to the general public and to the terrorists. So that is a recipe to find a way out. Haphazard going, only then it will be just killing our people, resource drain on our security forces, and with not end result which we want to achieve. So it has.
Do you truly believe that we'll be able to achieve the results as you have mentioned? Because while we of course can talk about that national dialogue, unfortunately it took APS to happen for that consensus to also take place. But what exactly do you think will be the outcome of such a measure that is taken now, given the fact that there have been so many political concerns that we've seen previously, or the kind of frictions that we've seen previously? Will they not also still come into play?
You see, when we go hold national dialogue and we brief everyone, and still there are one or two parties that don't agree, then let them be singled out. And people should know that they're not to overcome all this problem of national security. Then they have their own agenda, political agenda, opposition agenda. So let them be singled out. Still they are talking about it, but we have or they may not even join national dialogue. Again, they'll be singled out. So it is the responsibility of the Government of Pakistan to at least initiate for political stability and the national security operations. That's what I say. Don't give them chance that we have not invited, we are not consulted. So do something, a bit extra effort to bring everybody on board. But if they don't come, then when the federal government decides, when the Apex Committee decides, when the National Security Committee decides, it is incumbent on everyone to do it. If they don't do it, that means they are violating the Government of Pakistan, and that is very, very serious.
But Brigadier Sahab, you are saying when they decide, they have already decided. It is known that the operation has been launched. Now what we can do is actually build consensus around it, but can we actually make them conditional on this consensus?
Decision has been taken. The only thing they have to be briefed. This is what we are going to do it, but in camera. Don't make it public, right? That's what is needed. Decision is taken, and decision has to be taken by the Government of Pakistan, because the National Assembly has elected cabinet, and the cabinet is given a mandate to take decisions about the national security, economy, foreign affairs, health, everything. They have to decide, cabinet, and that's what is in the mandate. So decision is taken. Now its only thing is at least reach out to the few political parties, and this should be done by the in-camera briefing. Bring political heads.
And Brigadier Sahab, I know that as a former provincial interior or home minister, you must be privy to a lot of information. But is it not true that one of the biggest problems with these briefings that have been taking place is that they were in camera, because the common man on the street was not able to understand what their lawmaker was being told and why they digressed? If they knew, if they had the transparency, perhaps they could hold their lawmakers to account or their political leaders to account. Is it not a great opportunity? As Washington Post says, democracy dies in darkness. So why not actually Of course, there must be some sensitive information related issues. Don't share them, but make this briefing, whatever it might be, open to camera as well.
See, if it is open to camera, only broad parameters can be discussed.
Yeah.
Why we are going to operations? What are the reasons? It is affecting our economy. It is affecting our foreign investment. It's affecting our so many government political stability. And then China has to be told very clearly. They want stability in Pakistan. They are pushing it also. But then what are they doing in Afghanistan? You see, they are investing a lot of money over there. They are giving a lot of money to American dollars to Afghan government. So that is, then they should push the Afghan government there also. China is not pushing them. They are taking a lot of national resources from there. But then China, because China is now stakeholder in Afghanistan, if they also push from that side, I think answer can be plus also, positive also. So this all has to be done coordinately, because it's not only Pakistan. Pakistan alone cannot do. It has to be done by the region. Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, Central Asia, Afghanistan. Afghanistan peaceful means Pakistan peaceful, Pakistan peaceful means Pakistan peaceful, and CPEC is going to be materialized, operationalized.
Absolutely, and Brigadier Harris, I'm glad you talked about that because I wanted to explore that further. And while I understand the importance of regional players or the fact that the issue of terrorism affects us all, but I want to also understand then what sort of a role do you even see these countries playing? You mentioned a few. What exactly will be the action that is taken by these countries, and whether or not a truly coordinated response can actually be expected out of all of these countries against terrorism, and what benefit will that be for Pakistan?
The most important is Iran. You see, Iran is left out. Iran has a total control on the northern alliance. Iran has a total control over them. So Iran has to be taken in confidence. Iran and Pakistan, they're the most important stakeholders, along with Central Asia. That they are the countries, and of course China, because they are already in Afghanistan. So they are the main pillars. If we want, then it has to be, let's have a conference of foreign ministers or interior ministers or their armed forces. They have to work out. They all have to seal the border, and they have to work together. Pakistan is committing a mistake if we don't go and talk to Iran for these all issues. I'm sure when the foreign minister came, the president came, they must have discussed. But then we have to tell them how much support we needed. An American that have told, you have spoiled the Afghan stability, you have let weapon ammunition, so they have to support you. Not that they are going to support in operation, but at least they have to support military support and economic support, so that we have to spend a lot of money over there. And we have the economic crunch. Who has to do all these things? China and Central Asia, Iran and Pakistan are the main stakeholders. They have to be together because it affects everyone over there. And ultimately, it's for Russia also, because of the movement going over there. East Turkestan movement coming from the Central Asia. And they affect Chinese also. So in that context, everybody has to work together, but it cannot be in isolation. The whole nation and these countries, along with the OIC, I think that is the right forum where we have to go, find, discuss, and then reach to a final conclusion.
Yeah, Brigadier Harris, you have rightly pointed out, of course, when we talk about, all of these terrorist outfits, they are affecting all other countries. It shouldn't be only Pakistan that should be fighting against them. Eventually, all of these countries, they have to join hands to fight against these terrorists. And this was the very question I actually raised while I met with one of the Russian diplomats and one of the Belarusian diplomats. When I highlighted this question, and they said to me that we have always been, offering Pakistan to join CSTO, Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is, of course, all of these countries they are part of, even the Central Asian republics, and then China as well is part of it. If they are offering Pakistan, and if Pakistan joins it, owing to the fact that Pakistan is facing all of these threats emanating from obviously the western border, then in that context, will they be fighting along with Pakistan to secure not only Pakistan but all of the neighboring countries of Afghanistan?
And Brigadier Saab, allow me to actually piggyback on that question because you know CT inside out, and you have also worked as the former interior minister. Let me ask you about another aspect that has been highlighted recently in this operation, that is the socio-economic reforms that are needed to complement the counter-terrorism efforts. You also brought up the border issue, that it has to be fenced. The biggest problem with all these issues is money. And it seems that Pakistan is going through an economic turmoil. So how do you propose we actually raise the kind of money that is needed for all these reforms as well?
Yeah, and if that money this time around is not being supported by the Western countries, in that context, of course, CSTO is a good option.
It is not a financial source.
Tapi, the point is, and Faisal question is also good, the socio-economic activity is the most important. It has to be along with operations. But we say the Azmi Istikam. You see, the point is, when you carry out development in those areas, there's tribal areas, there we go for roads, you go for education schools, they go for military colleges, you go for hospital, you go for industrial development. Then when the young boys, they come and study, then they get the job in industries, then they will not carry the weapons. Then they will work, and when they have the economic prosperity, then they will not go for all these operations. This is one of the factors. The young boy, when he is in Pata area, he takes the rifle and he goes to the mountains, but he gets a job. His parents are looked after. Economically, they're better off. Then this is so out of spending around 14, 15, 100 billions on development in Pakistan, spend 1 or 200 billion for the further development. It will add to your ease of job in operations. This is one of the factors. Then you have, why don't we have all the security leaders of these countries we are talking about have a conference before going for this operation, and Pakistan should say what all we need the support. We need only intelligence sharing and their respective border sealings. Pakistan will do their own operations. Everybody has to do it. Pakistan don't want their support in that carrying their own operation, but we need support to at least border management and also sealing of the border. Iran, Central Asia, China, and Pakistan. Then see what happens. Afghanistan can't do much. The only thing, when we put pressure on Afghanistan, then China is a stakeholder, Central Asia is a stakeholder, Iran is very, very influential in northern area, northern alliance, and Pakistan has a southern alliance. So it has to be combined effort. That is what we needed. It cannot be that we don't carry out the socio-economic problems, resolve the socio-economic problems of these peoples, and we feel they fall prey to all sorts of attractions by these hostile agencies. But if they have a job, they have got the education, their parents are being looked at hospital, industrial development carried out, roads are there, they can go work and then come back to their own houses, then these jobs of hostile intelligence will be very, very difficult. So make the job of hostile intelligence difficult and improve socioeconomic environments and then carry out this operation. I think it has to be together, all these resources getting together and then work it. For that I say the nation, the government, military forces, and the media, social media, everybody has to work, build consensus. What see happen in India? Have you ever seen their media talking about their armed forces? They never talk about their intelligence forces. Then what happens in Ayodhya or Kashmir? What 70% their courts are controlled by the Modi government. And what is happening in Pakistan? You give punishment to the terrorists of APS school, and the Peshawar court give them the bail, and they are let free. This is what I say, that they all has to be one together, working together, right, and see how it is going to be very, very effective only then.
Yeah, Brigadier Haris, one last question from my side, a very quick one. You have rightly pointed out that, of course, social media is, we need to look after as well. Because I know when West was fighting war against terrorism, any, terrorist sympathizers on social media or elsewhere, they were dealt with as well. Are we going to do this time around as well? Because if, if this operation is going on, then in this context on social media, of course, we'll be receiving, receiving lots of negative voices. Will they be taken care of as well?
Or can't we actually fight that with better narrative?
most important thing is, if we have a national dialogue and the government holds, there it should sort out. Any political party involved in these things, that political party should also be taken to task. And their trollers who are there on social media have to be controlled. They have to be told what is important for national security. If you're all Pakistani and we want to live in prosper Pakistan, then we have to understand this. And very ruthless rules should be also framed for the cybercrime and these social trollers, that they have to be sorted out. Only then this can be resolved. It has to be multi-pronged strategy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Brigadier Harris, for
very
joining us and being a part of the discussion. Farrukh, very quickly, if you want to add something.
Right. I wanted to actually answer what Faisal was asking actually. Pakistan, and by the way, Brigadier Sahab was mentioning India's example. India's example is not a great example to emulate, because there we have seen how quickly civil liberties just vanished over past 10 years. The point is, as an ideological libertarian, it becomes very difficult sometimes for me to reconcile my value system, where I believe that state should not actually intervene that much in personal matters, and ground realities, this counter-terrorism, because it hurts all of us. My humble submission is that in the end, Pakistan, like India, is a post-colonial country. In post-colonial countries, what you have is many people or many walks of life being dominated by control freaks. So what you need to do is you have to have a civil society which can actually push back whenever there is a serious violation, and then create a window for the operations that you have to accomplish all these tasks within 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. After that, everything resumes. With that kind of a situation, then you will have at least consensus that is needed to fight all these elements and win. Regarding social media, somehow, I don't know why, we keep on giving it more weightage than it is needed.
Right.
No social media handle can walk into your house and set things on fire. Somebody on the ground has to do it.
Absolutely.
Why not actually police the grounds rather than social media?
Right. Thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining us. As always, it's all what we have time for in the debate. But of course, we hope that Pakistan continues on the fight against terrorism successfully, as it has done so in the past, and that we are, of course, all together in the resolve against this menace. That is all that we have from the show. We'll now see you tomorrow.